Welcome back. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. When you're away from home, you need a good security system to keep things safe. When you are at home, you need a world-class home theater system to keep yourself entertained. Safety Systems, they can give you both. Give VFL JJ Searles a call this month. You will be very happy that you did. I have always liked dealing with these folks. You'll see one of their signs in my yard because I am a user and a believer in Safety Systems. Okay, very quickly, earlier this week, I'm sure you've heard, USC and UCLA announced that they were joining the Big Ten. The SEC went to 16 by adding Texas and Oklahoma a couple of years ago. Now the Big Ten is going to 16 as well. Both aren't likely to stop there. They'll probably go to 2024. It's possible one could look at it and say, you know what, this is all at this point, it's just about owning content, owning brands. We can go to 36. It'd be easier for the Big Ten to do that than the SEC, which we'll get into later, but this isn't where it stops. For the SEC, they're downright quaint compared to the Big Ten because all our states touch. Whereas the Big Ten now goes, in terms of media cities, New York, Chicago, and LA are all part of that media empire. And this is basically, Big Ten's run by Fox, SEC's run by ESPN, and they're going about it in two different ways, but they're both becoming these monster super conferences. My question is, Tennessee, the SEC adds Texas and Oklahoma. Okay, if you're the Big Ten and USC and UCLA come to you, it's a brilliant move in terms of TV. You got a TV deal that's coming up. It's going to make you all kinds of money. So that's smart. But is this a good long-term response to what the SEC did? In other words, do you see 10 years from now USC, UCLA, and the Big Ten working out as well as Texas, Oklahoma, and the SEC? Vince?
No, I think there's going to be challenges. Yes, you're going to get a lot more money with the TV deal in the Big Ten and all those dollars that should help you operate, but it's still got to take a toll on the student athletes, on your operating budget, on people deciding to go there because of travel and everything else. And plus, those programs have been pretty inconsistent for a while, especially UCLA, in their conference where there's a lot in their favor. So I'm not convinced that those two brands immediately have success in the Big Ten.
I think, I'm sure the Big Ten schools are looking at it saying, ooh, now we can sell that our kids will go play in California. And I think this could backfire on USC and UCLA from recruiting because you're going to spend half your college tenure in an airport going to play in cold weather. I don't know that that's a good fit. Let me go to Josh and I'll come back to Ryan. What do you think? Is this a good long-term marriage, better than the SECs with Texas, Oklahoma? Or do you think they're all crummy? Do you think they're all good? Where are you?
Personally, I don't like it from what I remember college athletics to be because in 10 years, we're not going to see it that way. What we remember college athletics is not what it's going to be. We're going to see more expansion, I think. So their goal is money, and their money will provide more resources and the travel will probably be easier for those trips they're having to take.
You'll charter your flight instead, but
yeah,
still.
and it's going to be, hey, we are the next best thing to the pros before you turn pro, and that will be the pitch I think to recruits in LA. So I think it will work out for them, but I think it will deter. I think it will deter some fans. But now you'll have such a big investment from TV that it'll be everywhere. So yeah, I think their goals will be met.
Ryan.
I think it's a good move from the Big Ten from the standpoint of maybe as much as anything what it does for the perception of the Big Ten. I think this, in a lot of people's minds, makes it a Big Two, and I don't know that we saw it that way a week ago. So now that this is out there, it's destabilized the entire landscape. It has opened the door for the Big Ten to add anybody, and that's also not what we were talking about before. Mm-hmm. Oregon, Notre Dame. I heard Clemson thrown out as a possibility for the Big Ten. There are any number of options on the table, and we'll see if the Big Ten goes into the Southeast. If it does, it's going to be a fascinating arms race.
It would go after AAU schools, the high academics, and that is not Clemson.
Right. So, North Carolina and Duke have been thrown out there.
North Carolina, Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami are all high academics more so than Clemson.
So if they venture into the Southeast to start taking teams, then this is going to work out for the Big Ten pretty well because they're going to have destabilized the entire landscape and made themselves a major power player, and the SEC will have to counter at some point, and that's not where they were a week ago.
Yes.
Well, what's ironic is the reason that was given as why USC and UCLA went to the Big Ten and wanted to go there is for stability of the conference. Well, now that's made the whole landscape unstable. So you wanted the stability maybe for you with the money, which is what it's all about. But now we're going to see so many moves because of it.
I think it's a terrific short-term move for them. Was they make their next TV deal is coming up, they're going to make $1 billion. They're going to make a lot more money than the SEC, which is amazing. Long-term, though, while Texas, I don't like them coming to the SEC simply because they're home wrecker. They've busted up every conference they've ever been in. At the same time, Texas, Oklahoma have shared values. It's one-horse towns. Austin's a big city, but it all revolves around Texas football. Same with Oklahoma. Shared values. You do have natural rivals there. A&M, Missouri, Arkansas. You play you don't get any of that with USC, UCLA. I wonder for them if the Big Ten doesn't start adding more teams from the West. And right now they've said, no, we're not doing that yet. And apparently Fox doesn't want them to do that yet. If they don't, that's going to be pretty lonely over the next 10 years for USC and UCLA, and I think that's where your problem is. Yeah. That's totally different culture too, because as Lane Kiffin would tell you, you can still go to dinner and nobody asks you for an autograph in LA if you're the head coach of the Trojans. That doesn't happen in the Big Ten any more than happens down in the SEC. All right, when we come back, could the SEC, in terms of this race to superpower, could the SEC be at a timing disadvantage? The answer is yes. I'll show you why next.